Before we begin, viewers are advised that the following content is intended solely for educational and entertainment purposes. What follows is the verbatim courtroom testimony from the federal trial of Sean Diddy Combs, as reported by Inner City Press.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're getting right into it. Some pretty significant developments from the Sean Diddy Combs trial.
Yeah, specifically focusing on testimony from a former employee that came out recently.
Exactly. And our source for this is a news report from People magazine. It covers day 13 of the trial.
Right, gives it the rundown.
So our mission here really is to pull out the key details, the main insights from this report about this testimony. We want you to get the important stuff quickly.
Sort of cut through the noise, yeah. We'll guide you through what this one source is highlighting.
Okay, so let's dig into this People report, see what stands out.
Right.
First, just to, set the scene, we're talking about the ongoing trial of Sean Diddy Combs.
Mm-hmm. And as the source points out, he's facing some very serious federal charges.
Yeah, things like sex trafficking, racketeering, and transportation to engage in prostitution. Important to note, though, he has pleaded not guilty.
Absolutely, not guilty. And the witness we're focusing on today, based on this report, is a former employee.
Right, testifying under pseudonym Mia.
Mia, yeah. And the report tells us where we are in the trial timeline. It's Friday, May 30th, day 13.
And Mia is actually continuing her testimony on day 13.
Correct. She'd already been on the stand.
So she wasn't starting fresh that Friday. The report mentions she testified the day before too, Thursday, day 12. What did people say she covered then?
Well, the report states that on Thursday, day 12, Mia testified that Combs sexually assaulted her on multiple occasions.
Okay, wow, multiple occasions.
And she was also apparently asked about alleged physical assaults against Cassandra Cassie Ventura, things Mia said she witnessed firsthand.
Right, so witnessing alleged physical assault too. Very, very serious allegations there. And come Friday, day 13, where did things pick up according to the report?
So the prosecutors were still conducting their direct examination of Mia, asking her questions.
Right.
And the plan is, once they finish, Combs' defense attorneys get their chance to cross-examine her.
Right, standard procedure. Now, this is where the People report gets into a very specific incident that Mia testified about.
Yeah, something that reportedly happened back in 2015.
And what did she testify happened?
According to the article, Mia testified that Combs threatened her job and her life.
Her job and her life. That's
Okay.
intense. Just reading that in the report, what was the alleged trigger for that kind of threat?
She testified it all started because Cassie Ventura wasn't answering Combs' phone calls.
Okay. Why wasn't Cassie answering, according to the testimony?
Well, Mia's testimony included the context that Ventura had reportedly found out Combs had been seeing another woman during their relationship.
Ah, okay, so a personal issue between Combs and Ventura allegedly leads to a threat against the employee, Mia.
That's the sequence reported. And the source mentions a piece of evidence shown in court, a text message.
Right, a text Mia sent during this incident to Combs' chief of staff.
Exactly, and the report quotes it. Mia wrote that her boss was, quote, slurring and saying irrational things.
Slurring and saying irrational things. That's quite a specific description from a text message shown in court.
Gives a snapshot of her perception at that moment, as reported.
And what about the impact on Mia herself? Does she testify about how this alleged incident affected her?
Yes, she did. The report says she told the court she suffered from night terrors as a result of that encounter.
Night terrors. Okay, so let's try to connect the dots here based on the report. How might testimony like this fit into the bigger picture? Testimony from a former employee detailing alleged threats tied to personal stuff alongside witnessing alleged abuse. How does that potentially relate to charges like, say, racketeering or sex trafficking?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it? Looking at how these specific, maybe personal-seeming incidents are potentially used by the prosecution.
Right.
What's interesting, based purely on what's described in this report, is how prosecutors might frame it. For instance, testimony about alleged threats, control over employees, maybe even stemming from personal conflicts.
Like the unanswered phone calls.
Exactly. That could potentially be presented to suggest a pattern of, say, coercive behavior or control. That might be argued as relevant to establishing the nature of an alleged criminal enterprise, which is central to a racketeering charge.
So it's not just about isolated big events, but potentially showing a pattern and environment using these specific, maybe smaller reported incidents.
Potentially, yes. And the testimony about witnessing alleged physical assaults on Cassie Ventura, for example, that could be used to paint a picture of the alleged environment. The dynamics within Combs' circle, again, depending on the prosecution's specific legal strategy.
It's like using individual bricks, these reported accounts, to try and build the larger wall of their case.
That's a good way to put it. These personal accounts, if believed by the jury after cross-examination, could serve as building blocks for the prosecution's narrative.
And we absolutely have to stress, like the source does, this is one witness's testimony. Presented under oath, yes, but it's the prosecution's side right now.
Crucially important. We're just relaying what the People report says was stated in court by Mia.
The defense will get their turn. They will cross-examine her, challenge her account, present their own perspective on these events. We are strictly looking at the content of this news report about this phase of the trial.
Exactly. Just diving into this source to understand what was reportedly presented to the court at this point.
Okay, so why does digging into a single report like this, focusing on one witness, actually matter to you, the listener, following this complex trial?
Well, if you want to grasp what's really happening beyond just the headlines about the charges, reports like this offer a look at the actual substance.
The evidence being presented?
Right. In this case, the specific witness testimony. It shows you the kind of detailed human accounts, the specific alleged incidents that the prosecution is using. It's the texture of the case.
Yeah, it moves you from just knowing the charges to understanding the stories, like that 2015 incident with the alleged threat and the text message, how these pieces are being put forward.
And understanding these specific reported pieces gives you a much richer, clearer view of the whole proceeding as it unfolds.
All right, let's wrap up this deep dive into the People magazine report on day 13 of the Combs trial. We've centered on the testimony of Mia.
We touched on her reported testimony from the day before allegations of sexual assault and witnessing alleged physical assault involving Cassie Ventura.
And then we really dug into the detail from the report about day 13, that specific alleged incident from 2015, the threat to her job and life reportedly linked to Cassie Ventura not answering calls.
Including that text message she sent, slurring and saying irrational things, and her testimony about experiencing night terrors afterward.
And again, emphasizing this is one reported account, part of the prosecution's case. The defense's response is still to come.
Absolutely. A single perspective, according to this source, given under oath.
So, let's leave you with a thought, based only on what's in this People report we've unpacked. Given how detailed and personal this reported testimony is down to a specific text message describing someone as slurring and saying irrational things, if accounts like these can be presented as potential building blocks in a trial involving charges as broad as racketeering, what does that suggest about just how wide-ranging and maybe intricate the legal strategies might need to be in pursuing accountability in cases like this?